What is Stripe actually costing you for processing your credit card transactions for your online store? My name is Maria Sparagis and I am an expert in online payment processing. Today, I'm going to break down Stripe fees and costs so you can actually know what you are paying. Now, keep in mind, the advertised cost is 2.9% plus 30 cents a transaction, but I see thousands of Stripe statements every month, and I can guarantee you that 90% of online businesses are actually paying more than that. And if you are considered a high-risk merchant, or if you are selling things outside of your home region, then you are paying extra fees with Stripe and you may not know it. So I'm going to break down what you are actually paying and explain to you how you can get this information. Now, it's important for you to understand this because you cannot negotiate payment processing fees with another provider or with Stripe if you don't understand what you're actually paying for. So let's jump right in. Now let's clear something up. The fees that you see advertised for most popular payment processing platforms like Stripe, Square, Shopify Payments are not accurate. Let me explain a little further. Now you probably see 2.9% plus 30 cents, and that's what you think that you're paying. In fact, that's wrong. There are a lot of additional fees that are added to that are obviously not advertised. And these are fees that can increase your rate by 1%, 2%, depending on obviously what type of store you're running. So if you haven't already, the most important report for you to understand your fees on, for example, a platform like Stripe is to download your balance report in PDF format. Now you can just Google balance report in PDF Stripe, and then it'll bring you there. You can log in and grab your report. You should download that for 1 calendar month and really take a look at all the fees that are listed. Let me show you an example. So now if you're looking at your balance report within Stripe, let me point out a couple of things here for you. So first of all, you see here the charges and you see the amount of transactions that you've processed. And then you see here the dollar amount that you've processed. And then these are the fees. So this is what you're paying for. Now, again, they advertise 2.9%, but there are some exceptions. If you take phone payments, if you take payments that they deem high risk, they could be charging you more. So it's important to actually figure out if the fees actually do equal 2.9%. So oftentimes I see that it doesn't because there are some other types of payments that you're accepting. So this would be an important one. Then they list out your refunds. These are just things obviously that are removed because you've refunded customers. Now we go to the other section here, which talks about disputes, chargebacks. Anytime a customer obviously complains and launches a dispute, you not only lose the amount of money for the transaction, but there's also a fee. This can range, and this is obviously important for you to know whether you're paying, $15, $20, $12. It can range between, I've seen 10 and about $35, depending on what agreement that you have with Stripe. So this is important for you to verify what you are actually paying. Then obviously, if you do have disputes and they've been reversed, they're added back to your balance. So that's obviously a very good thing. You're getting your money back, but you're not getting refunded the dispute fee. So remember, if a customer files a dispute, you pay a dispute fee, and if you win it back, you only get back the actual amount of the transaction. The dispute fee is something that you've lost, unfortunately. Now, here's an interesting section here for you guys to notice. Additional Stripe fees. So additional Stripe fees could be very many things. Now, most of the time, what they are foreign fees, foreign exchange fees, or if you're operating out of region and you have customers, like for example, if you're a US merchant and you're charging customers in Europe or somewhere outside of the US, then you're paying a foreign transaction fee. Then you're also paying a foreign exchange fee for the different currencies that you're accepting and so forth. So they're listing, how many of your transactions fall within these categories, and then they charge you. This could be between 0.6% to as high as 2%, really depending on what type of scenario. I won't go into breakdown of what they charge 0.64 and 2%, but you should look into your terms and conditions and into your pricing policy with Stripe so you can figure out what it exactly that they're charging. But like I said, oftentimes it's really a foreign transaction fee or a foreign currency fee that they're charging here. And then there could be a section where it says risk reserved funds. So if you are in a high risk space, which many online merchants are, and many merchants that I work with directly in my company, Direct PayNet, they are considered high risk by Stripe. And sometimes what happens is if you get a couple extra disputes, or for example, you have refunds that are too high, what's going to happen here is they may hold some of your funds because they think you're too high risk. So it is very important for you to have a look at, anything they may be holding, understanding how long they're holding it for, and making sure obviously that you get that money back as quickly as possible. Now, if you have funds that are being held by risk, oftentimes they have emailed you or they have put a notice in your account, and it's important that you take a look at that. So, I see this all the time. I have a lot of merchants who come to me and say, hey, Maria, I don't understand, but my money's not being released from Stripe. They never told me anything. And lo and behold, we look through the inbox or we look through their account, and they have received a notice from the risk department telling them that, say, for example, 25% of their money is being held for review because of high chargebacks or high refunds and so forth. So it's very important that you read all the emails that you get from Stripe, and also that you read all emails that you have in your account settings to make sure that, if you've been warned about something, or if you're asked for additional information, that you provide it as quickly as possible. But if they are holding some extra funds, or there's some funds that they're not paying out to you, it will be listed down here. Now, right at the bottom of your Stripe statement, what you'll see is a section that's called payouts. So payouts is the money that Stripe has paid out to you during the month, and they list it there. Now, keep in mind that may actually differ than the balance after your fees. And what happens oftentimes, and a lot of payment processors do this, including Stripe, Square, Shopify, and so forth, you will see that the amount over here where it says balance change from activity is different than the payouts. And what happens is at the end of the month, they will debit your bank account for anything extra that they may have paid out to you, or extra fees that they didn't charge for you because they hadn't calculated yet. And you might get a big debit towards the end of the month or right at the beginning of the month for the previous month. So keep that in mind and make sure that you always have some money in your bank account to cover any payment processing fees or chargebacks or refunds that come in. Because the one thing that puts your merchant account or your payment processing account at risk is when the payment processor, for example, like Stripe, is unable to collect their fees. If they are unable to collect their payment processing fees, your account goes on hold pretty much right away, and it makes life very difficult for you, especially if you're considered high risk or you have a few disputes and they're not liking that. So I hope this information was helpful, and the important thing for you to understand is that 2.9% plus 30 cents on a transaction, which is advertised, is actually false. And most merchants don't understand this and think that they're paying about 3%. That is just the advertised rate. You really have to download your balance report every month, whether you're working with Stripe or Shopify or you're working with Square. They're all advertising the same price, and they all have something very similar to Stripe's balance report that you can download to really dig deep into your fees and understand what you're paying for. Now, you may not understand what all the fees listed on your Stripe statement or your Shopify statement mean, but there is a pricing guide available within Stripe and within Shopify that will kind of break everything down. You can use a chatbot as well to ask for more information, but keep in mind it is important for you to do this every month because it could change. You may see one thing one month, one thing the other month, and as your business evolves and you get different types of customers, your fees may evolve and change and get higher or lower depending on what kind of customers are buying from you. So I hope this information was helpful. And if you have any further questions about your Stripe fees or what you can do to lower them, feel free to contact myself or somebody from my team at Direct PayNet, and we'll be happy to help you. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing content, and have yourself a great day.